Hello, this is Steve, the Independent Patriot, and thank you for tuning back in to my Facebook page and checking out these posts. I'm talking today about impeachment and why it is that the House of Representatives seems so interested in impeaching our President Donald J. Trump. What is it? What is the reasoning for their desire? Of course, to delegitimize the President of the United States and his presidency, of course. But there must be something else. Obviously, the 2020 election, right? But why is it that they think this is the key? Well, let's look into Alan Lichtman's. Who is Alan Lichtman, and why is he important to this? Well, Alan Lichtman successfully predicted that all the presidential elections back to George Sr. and actually even Reagan. And he's been on multiple different news agencies talking about just this. Alan has 13 categories which he uses to determine if someone's going to be elected or not, and if a candidate does not make 6 of those stages, they will not be elected or reelected. So let's look at what are these 13 categories which Alan brings up. So first one, party mandate. Are you supported by your party? Contest. What kind of contest is it between the two? I imagine is what that's about. Incumbency. Are they incumbent or not? Third party. Is there a third party that could take away some of your votes? Short-term economy, long-term economy, policy change, social unrest in our country or throughout the world, I suppose. Scandal. Makes sense. Foreign military failure or foreign military success. Incumbent charisma, and also the challenger charisma. So those are the 13 categories. Okay, so of those, Alan says if 6 of them are no's, your candidate does not get elected or reelected. So I imagine policy change would be a no, because Trump has changed a lot of policies, and that's certainly been something the Democrats have not liked at all. Challenger charisma and incumbent charisma. Some would say Trump doesn't have a lot of charisma. Others would say he has a ton of charisma. I guess it's whether you're a never Trumper or not in this case. But I think that he would call that a no in his book, Alan's book, not mine. Okay. And then incumbent charisma, if it was Joe, he has some charisma. Yes, he's able to carry just on his words alone, it seems, a crowd. So I would say if it was Joe Biden. If it was one of the other candidates, I would say that's maybe not a no. That might be a no for them, but a yes for Biden. Now, scandal. What about that? Wouldn't that be something that the Democrats or the House, the Democrats, the DNC would want to use to discredit and possibly prevent a second term for our president? Yeah, I think so. So what is it that makes up, that makes up, the I word? They like to call it impeachment, the I word. Well, Article 2 says there's a legal standard for impeachment. In 1868, Andrew Johnson was the first to be tried in impeachment because he was breaking a law, something about 10 years where a staffer would need to be on the president's staff, and he went ahead and fired him. And they said, and the key Republicans said that is not enough to reach a legal standard for which someone should be impeached. So Andrew Johnson escaped from being impeached. So what is impeachment? It's a punishment. And James Madison, one of our founding fathers, put it this way: it's a defense against a president who is incompetent, is neglecting their duty, or has created petty corruption. There's a few other terms they put in there as well. The side that usually fights against it says, hey, it's a constitutional crisis. It's usurping. It's trying to create a coup. And yes, that's exactly what the Republicans are saying it is. Of course, that would be a natural way to respond, wouldn't it? Of course, then the Democrats say, it's a constitutional crisis. What Trump is doing? Well, what is he doing? I haven't seen any documents to show that he has broken any laws, that he has done things. He certainly has enough bluster and enough talk. But once again, you can say things and that might create a little destabilization short term, but if you don't actually do things to cause for reason for impeachment, then I'm sorry, it doesn't reach the legal standard, at least in my poor opinion as some citizen from the middle of nowhere, right? So Franklin, another founding father, put it this way: punishment when misconduct should deserve it. Although, he also says, honorable acquittal when unjustly accused. So, there is a process where the courts, and in fact the Supreme Court, can be brought into the picture to determine who's right, the Congress or the executive, president. So, this is the next step. This is where we are. And during the original setup of the Constitution, yes, my middle son, sorry about that, impeachment was discussed while they were writing the Constitution. They were debating. It came up at the very end of all the debates back in, was it 1784, 1785, about impeachment. And the key word that George Mason brought up, one of the founding fathers, was maladministration, poor, incorrect administration. Well, that was fought by, I believe it was Franklin, who said, or maybe it was Madison, that no, maladministration would mean that the president serves at the whim of the Congress, and we can't have that. It needs to be three separate, the triad, the executive, the judicial, and the Congress. And you can't have the president basically working for the Congress. He has to have more autonomy than that. So instead they called it high crimes and misdemeanors. And now that's a term that's been around for almost 400 years. It came about, in fact, during the trial of Warren Hastings over in England. So it goes back a long ways. It's something certainly that the founding fathers knew about, high crimes and misdemeanors. So when we talk about the Trump presidency, there's been no proof of high crimes, no proof of misdemeanors, which is probably why the Democrats haven't held a vote yet. Probably why. Because they probably wouldn't get the vote to pass. So, what do you think they're talking about impeachment for? Why do they keep bringing it up? Why do they keep saying, oh, Trump said the word Russia. Trump said the word Ukraine. It's time to impeach. Well, hold on a second. He just said the names, the words. He said, I want China to investigate. Doesn't mean he went and called up their ambassador and said, I need you to investigate. I want us to do a deal so that you investigate. He didn't do that. Even if he did, actually, there's a precedent from the Bill Clinton era where he made a deal to get someone investigated by a foreign power. So even if he had said those things, there's precedent. There's a lot of precedent. In fact, Obama had to put a lot of power into the presidency. And Trump has actually, I don't know if you believe this or not, but he actually has used less of the presidential power than Obama had. I know you don't believe me, but look it up. Do your research. So once again, going back to the Cato Institute, Gene Healy is who I'm citing here about this. He says that yes, President of the United States, current President Donald J. Trump, has lowered the actual power of the presidency, not by a lot. It's a bell curve here. and it's a low precedent as well. But President has lots of bluster, he says, but he has used a lot less of a bit less power than Obama had. In fact, Obama expanded the force and power of the presidency by quite a bit because he used forces without asking for approval from Congress. At the time, it was fought against by McCain and others, but you know, I believe the Democrats had more power at that time, so they were able to push it through, just like they did Medicare, things like that, Obamacare, I should say. So, I mean, I think George W. Bush put it best. It's the soft bigotry of low expectations. When you have one president using so much power, and then the next president, all this bluster, but using less power, but hey, it's time to impeach, so let's use it against him, even if it doesn't make any sense at all. Of course, once again, my opinion. So, yes, the president has dropped more bombs than Obama in his first year of presidency, but he had a precedent from the Obama administration to do that. In terms of power grabs, what are the two things that President Trump has done, which has expanded the presidency? Well, you could say that the use of national security to create tariffs would be one, but he wouldn't be the first to use tariffs to support the United States economy and our national security in that way. Kennedy era Democrat. Kennedy did that. He held tariffs, and it's not the first time. I mean, it goes way back. Tariffs have been used. Now, this is something I always had questions about when tariffs were first used against China and against European Union, and we were taught threatening to do that with Mexico and Canada even. But in fact, it has precedent. So power grab, it just, I guess it would be continuing an older law, not well known, but a Kennedy era law. And then the border wall project would be, I suppose, using the National Emergency Declaration as a way to, excuse me, as a way to approve of the border wall and its use. But that was held up by the courts, and it was tried in our courts, and it was came out in the administration's favor. So, no, I don't think there's anything that can be impeached here, in my general opinion. I'd love to hear your opinion. This is Steve, the Independent Patriot, signing off. Have a great night.